Japan is known as a country full of high-tech innovation, but when it comes to electric cars, it has been surprisingly slow to catch up. Even though electric vehicles, EVs, are becoming more popular around the world, only a very small number of them were sold in Japan last year. Major Japanese car companies like Toyota and Honda still focus more on hybrid cars than fully electric ones. But things might be starting to change, thanks to a small new company. A tiny electric car called the Mibot, which costs only about $7,000, is starting to get a lot of attention in Japan. This one-seat super compact EV was created by a Japanese startup called KG Motors. Could this be the beginning of a big shift in the Japanese car industry? Could it even challenge companies like Toyota? To understand why this is important, let's take a look at how it all started. KG Motors was founded in June 2022 by Kazunari Kusunoki. He's from a town called Higashi Hiroshima in Japan's Hiroshima Prefecture. Like many small towns in rural Japan, the streets in his hometown are very narrow. So narrow that regular-sized cars can have trouble driving through them. Kusunoki noticed that Japan's current transportation system doesn't work well for these areas, especially as more of Japan's population grows older and smaller towns keep shrinking. Kusunoki is now 43 years old. Before he started KG Motors, he worked as a YouTube content creator. This experience gave him a close look at what ordinary people think about cars, cities, and getting around. From his videos and interactions with viewers, he learned that many Japanese people, especially older ones, were frustrated. While big car companies were focusing on fast, powerful, and fancy electric cars, everyday people were just looking for a simple, affordable way to get around their neighborhoods. In many towns, taxis are hard to find, bus services are getting worse, and fewer people are living in these areas. Kusunoki saw a chance to solve this problem, not with a big, expensive EV, but with a small, simple one. That's how KG Motors began, focused on creating practical, efficient vehicles instead of flashy, high-tech ones. Japan has one of the lowest EV adoption rates among developed countries. In 2023, only about 3.5% of all new cars sold in Japan were electric. The global average was much higher at around 18%. Even though Chinese car company BYD sold more than 4.3 million EVs around the world in 2024, they only sold about 2,200 in Japan. Toyota, Japan's biggest car maker, only sold around 2,000 EVs in the whole country during the same time. One reason for this is that Japanese companies have long preferred hybrid cars. Toyota, for example, believes in offering many options, not just electric. But Kusunoki wanted to do something totally different. His answer: Mibot. The Mibot is a very small, one-person electric car. It is only 2,490 millimeters long, about 98 inches, which makes it one of the shortest four-wheeled EVs in the world. It's also less than 1.5 meters tall, which makes it easy to drive and park on Japan's narrow roads. In fact, it's even smaller than Japan's famously tiny K cars. This small size is a big advantage. In places where bigger cars can't fit, the Mibot can move around easily. It's built for local travel, not highway driving. It has a small electric motor and a lithium-ion battery. The battery can take you about 100 kilometers, 62 miles, on a full charge, and the top speed is 60 kilometers per hour, around 37 miles per hour. These numbers may not sound impressive, but for short trips in town, it's more than enough. Another great thing about the Mibot is how easy it is to charge. It only takes about 5 hours to fully charge using a normal power outlet at home. That's important in rural areas where fast charging stations might not exist. The Mibot also has a very simple design. It uses something called a monocoque chassis, a one-piece body frame that makes the car strong without needing lots of separate parts. This type of design is usually used in aircraft or racing cars, but KG Motors used it here to save money and reduce complexity. The Mibot includes only the most basic parts: a battery, an electric motor, steering, brakes, and some simple lights and controls. In short, the Mibot is not trying to be a luxury car or compete with fancy EVs. Instead, it's built for one simple goal: giving people a cheap, easy, and smart way to get around their own neighborhoods. While the big companies focus on powerful and expensive vehicles, the Mibot could quietly change how people in Japan, and maybe even other countries. Think about local travel. The inside of the Mibot is extremely simple. There are no extra features, just the basics, showing that this car is meant to be a practical tool, not a luxury item. One of the most unique things about the Mibot is that it only has one seat. Unlike other small EVs such as the Smart EQ or Nissan Sakura, which usually have 2 or more seats, the Mibot is built just for one person. This design was intentional. The founder, Kazunari Kusunoki, wanted the Mibot to serve as a personal vehicle for short-distance travel. He had specific users in mind: older people, delivery workers, and residents of small towns where buses and trains are no longer available. Japan's population is aging rapidly, and its birth rate is very low. So, designing a vehicle specifically for these changing needs is both smart and necessary. The Mibot doesn't try to be a car for everyone. Instead, it has a clear focus: being a low-cost, easy-to-use transport solution for specific situations. Because of its small size and very basic systems, the Mibot is extremely lightweight. KG Motors hasn't officially revealed its exact weight, but it's believed to be under 400 kilograms. That puts it in the same category as light quadricycles or tiny moped-like cars. This lightweight helps in 2 major ways. First, it means the car can still perform well even with a small motor and battery. Second, it keeps production and material costs very low. That's a big reason why the Mibot is so affordable. It sells for just 1 million yen, about $7,000 before tax. That's much cheaper than other EVs in Japan. For comparison, Japan's top-selling EV, the Nissan Sakura, starts at about 2.5 million yen, $17,000, and even cheaper models from China's BYD are expected to cost around the same. The Mibot's low price makes it appealing not just for private users, but also for businesses. In fact, many of the 2,250 pre-orders that KG Motors has received are from companies, not individuals. Some rental services and delivery businesses have already shown strong interest. In areas like the Fuji 5 Lakes, a popular tourist region, similar minibuses are already used for eco-friendly sightseeing tours. Even major retailers like 7-Eleven Japan use vehicles like this to make deliveries in city neighborhoods. The Mibot's basic design, simple electrical system, and low maintenance needs make it ideal for such jobs. Unlike most modern cars, the Mibot doesn't have fancy software, screens, or internet connections. It's not meant for driving on highways or between cities. Instead, it's a simple solution for the unique needs of Japan, where many people live in small towns with narrow roads and limited transportation options. KG Motors has a clear strategy. Focus on affordability. At just $7,000, the Mibot is aimed at people who normally wouldn't consider buying an EV. This includes older adults in the countryside who don't have buses or trains nearby, city dwellers who need a small vehicle for short trips, and anyone who wants a cheap second vehicle for quick errands. In Japan, where nearly 30% of the population is over 65 years old, and where small towns are shrinking fast, this is a smart and important move. The response from the public has been very positive. When KG Motors opened reservations in late 2024, they received over 1,000 pre-orders in the first month. By May 2025, that number had grown to 2,250. This is impressive, especially considering that the company only plans to build 3,300 units by March 2027. That means more than 2/3 of their planned supply has already been reserved. To put things in perspective, Toyota only sold about 2,000 EVs in all of Japan in 2024. BYD did slightly better with 2,200, but the Mibot's pre-order numbers show there's a real market for something different. KG Motors is rolling out the Mibot in stages. The first 300 cars will be delivered by March 2026. The company expects to lose money on this first batch because small-scale manufacturing is expensive. But once they move to larger production runs, they expect to turn a profit. Their goal is to eventually make 10,000 Mibots a year. While that's a small number compared to big car makers, it would make KG Motors a major player in the world of tiny EVs in Japan. Even though the Mibot doesn't qualify as a K-car, Japan's popular class of small vehicles, it's still likely to compete with them. It falls into a different category called moped minicars, because it's slower and only has one seat. But its compact size and practical design make it a possible rival to K cars, which currently dominate more than half of Japan's auto market. So far, most Mibot pre-orders have come from businesses. Tour companies in places like the Fuji 5 Lakes have ordered the vehicle for local tours. Delivery services like 7-Eleven, which already use similar minicars, are looking at the Mibot as a good option for last-mile deliveries. These business uses could provide the reliable demand KG Motors needs while private consumer sales grow more slowly. However, there are legal limits to what the Mibot can do. It can only carry one person, the driver, and cannot be driven on roads where cars must have engines larger than 125 cubic centimeters. The top legal speed for the Mibot is 60 km per hour, about 37 miles per hour, and only people with a full Japanese driver's license can operate it. These restrictions may prevent it from becoming a daily use car for most people. But for specific users, especially older people in small towns, the Mibot might be the best option available. In many of these depopulating towns, buses and taxis are either too expensive or no longer running. Some people use bikes or scooters, but those can be dangerous for elderly drivers and offer no protection from bad weather. The Mibot could be a safer and more comfortable way for seniors or low-income individuals to run errands and stay independent. This is especially important in Japan, where so many communities are aging and losing basic services. KG Motors is also doing something different with its marketing. Instead of using traditional car dealerships, the company is relying heavily on social media and digital platforms. Founder Kazunari Kusunoki already had a following from his YouTube channel, where he posted videos about cars and technology. He's using that platform to promote the Mibot and talk about how transportation needs are changing in Japan. This digital-first approach is very different from how big car brands usually sell their vehicles. By using the internet to reach people directly, KG Motors is not just selling a car, it's starting a conversation about what future mobility in Japan should look like. KG Motors has put the Mibot through many tough tests to make sure it meets Japan's strict safety and legal standards. One of the most important parts of this process was crash testing. The company showed video footage of the Mibot crashing into concrete walls at high speed. This proved that protecting the driver and keeping the vehicle strong in a crash were top priorities. These tests showed that the car's special body structure, called a monocoque chassis, could absorb the shock of a crash while keeping the driver's area safe. The design is made as a single unit to make the car lighter and easier to build. KG Motors also tested the Mibot in extreme weather. The engineers drove the car in Hokkaido, the northern part of Japan, where there's heavy snow and temperatures often fall below freezing. This helped the team make sure the car would work well in cold and slippery conditions. In addition to weather testing, the company tested the Mibot in old city areas like Kyoto and Hiroshima, which have very narrow streets. Because the Mibot is only 2,490 millimeters long and less than 1.5 meters high, it fits easily into these tight spaces. KG Motors tested the car in real neighborhoods with small wooden houses close together, to make sure it could handle tricky driving situations. Even though the Mibot is small and has only one seat, KG Motors did not skip any steps in making sure it's safe and strong. The company is now finishing up the safety checks to prepare for the Mibot's official launch from its factory in Higashi, Hiroshima. These tests show that even tiny electric cars need to meet strong safety rules before they can be sold and driven in Japan. While bigger electric cars often come with advanced safety features like airbags, crash-absorbing parts, and automatic driving help, the Mibot focuses on simple but smart engineering to stay safe. KG Motors plans to start by delivering 300 Mibot units in Japan by March 2026. After that, they want to send 3,000 units overseas. This will happen between 2026 and 2027. There is growing interest in small electric vehicles around the world, especially in crowded cities or areas with older populations. Many places in Europe, North America, and Asia are dealing with narrow roads, parking problems, and fewer people, just like rural Japan. Other companies like Micro-Mobility from Switzerland with its Microlino, Renault from Italy with the Twizy, and Citroën from France with the Ami, are also making similar small electric cars. This shows that KG Motors is moving in the right direction. To grow outside Japan, people in other countries must be open to the idea of a small, simple vehicle. Right now, the global market for tiny electric cars is worth about $8.9 billion. Experts think this number will grow by more than 10% each year and might reach $24 billion by 2031 or 2032. These kinds of vehicles are already popular in cities like Paris, Berlin, Tokyo, and Shanghai, where space is limited and pollution is a concern. With more people expected to live in cities by 2050, demand for small, clean vehicles like the Mibot is likely to rise. KG Motors is not the only one working on this. Chinese carmaker BYD plans to bring a K-Class electric car to Japan by the end of 2026. Hyundai from South Korea is already selling small, low-cost electric cars in Japanese cities. This shows that more companies are looking into small cars that are cheap and good for city life. If the Mibot becomes popular, it might push other companies to enter this space and compete with new ideas. Still, the road ahead is not easy. The Mibot is considered a moped minicar, and this type of vehicle has some legal and practical limits. For example, it can carry only one person, can't be driven on roads meant for vehicles over 125 cubic centimeters, and its top speed is 60 kilometers per hour. Drivers must also have a full Japanese license, which people can only get at age 18. On the other hand, K-Class cars like the Nissan Sakura can carry families and go longer distances, so they are more useful for everyday life. Because of these limits, the Mibot is best for short trips alone. People who have lived in Japan for many years say they rarely see private owners of moped minicars. Most are used for business purposes. These restrictions might make it hard for the Mibot to become a common family or commuter car. If it stays limited to company or delivery use, it might not grow very much in the future. There is also the risk that people are only excited about the Mibot right now because it's new, and that interest might fade. Families usually want cars with more seats, space for bags, and the ability to drive on highways. Plus, Japanese people are very comfortable with hybrid cars from well-known brands like Toyota, Honda, and Nissan. Many buyers may be slow to accept such a big change in how they think about transportation. Even with these challenges, the Mibot is an important and bold new idea. It gives people, especially older adults or those living far from big cities, a way to get around safely and affordably, especially when walking or riding a scooter isn't an option. If KG Motors can produce 10,000 units each year, it may not replace big car companies, but it can create a new market for small, low-cost electric vehicles designed for local use. The Mibot might not be for everyone, but it offers a new way to think about getting from place to place. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any new videos. And don't forget to check out the video on your screen right now. It's amazing!